Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
From the beautiful city of Abuja, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Money Radio, and you are onto the energy segment of the program. Today's Money Radio is on a topic that will interest many Nigerians. Over the week, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, said the neighboring countries that Nigeria supplies electricity to, including Niger, Togo, and the Republic of Benin, are owing the sum of 770 million naira. Not too much, but they are owing, whereas Nigerians don't have electricity. And so the topic which we'll be discussing is why Nigeria will continue to supply electricity to neighboring countries despite the debt they are owing. And with me in the studio to discuss the issue is our delectable and our regular face, Mr. Anthony Uko. Mr.
Yeah.
Always looking sweet. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm your host, Case Hammond. Why will Nigeria continue to supply electricity to debtor nations, our neighboring debtor nations, for something we need electricity?
That is the $1,000,000 question.
Okay. And that means if you answer the question correctly, our audience will give you $1 million.
Anyway, like we all know, power supply in Nigeria is an essential commodity, which of course we don't have enough of.
Yeah.
Nigeria has the generating companies. They have capacity to generate up to 25,000 megawatts of electricity.
Nigeria.
Sure. There's installed capacity.
Okay.
The country has installed capacity to generate up to
25,000 megawatts.
Up to 12,500.
12,000.
Yeah, but the power need
It's
for the
about
country
20,
is put at 25.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and despite 8 years of privatization, Nigeria still hovers around delivering 4,000 megawatts of electricity to Nigeria.
Even though the population is increasing
By the day.
Yes, and we over the past 8 years, if I'm not making a mistake, Nigeria's population has increased by close to 20 million. Yes.
And you would begin to wonder if a commodity that is much needed in Nigeria is being sold to neighboring countries, and
they are not paying.
But the sale still continues. Is that not how will I?
It's an irony.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
It's an irony.
It's really an irony.
So what is going on, and why will Nigeria continue to supply electricity to neighboring debtor countries?
Yeah, like we've seen the figures. In fact, this figure of 770 million, like you pointed out, is not that high, though it's high. It's almost $1 billion. I can
Naira.
Naira. I can see you are so used to, you're a big man, you talk in billions. So 770 million is a small money. Anyway, it's gone much lower from as high as 60 something billion. Then it came lower. It's been coming, but what we have seen is over the years, these countries they've continued to owe, and the supply of electricity to them is as a result of a bilateral agreement
Yeah.
between these countries. Nigeria uses much of hydro power for power generation.
Yeah.
And then the hydro is mainly from the river Niger, which is not only in fact, the river Niger is the third largest river in Africa,
Yeah.
second to the Nile River and uh, one other one.
Yes.
So it cuts across not just Nigeria, it cuts across the whole of the west coast. And
Yeah,
then,
this Nile River, the Niger River, I think it comes all the way from somewhere in the Guinea Highlands,
yeah,
the Funta Jalon area.
mhm.
Yeah.
And
So-
it goes all the way into the Gulf of Guinea
Yeah.
and all that into the Atlantic. And so, as a result of that, Nigeria is already damming this river, and because of that, the other neighboring countries,
Mhm.
if they too set up their own dams, the supply of water into Nigeria's dams
Will be reduced.
will be reduced, and so it will affect power generation.
So, is there an agreement with Nigeria and these countries?
Yes, like I pointed out, there was a bilateral agreement between Nigeria and these countries, and it was that since Nigeria has number one, the population, number one, it's bigger than these countries. So Nigeria would generate, and then they can't generate through hydro, even though they may be able to explore other sources, other means of generating power. But while Nigeria is dominating the river Niger when it comes to um, uh, dams for power generation, these other neighboring countries cannot. And so Nigeria would just have to.
So, Nigeria is in a way subsidizing because of that privilege of Nigeria having, I won't use the word monopoly, but at least a greater share
Yeah.
of the use of that, river Niger.
Yes.
The onus is upon Nigeria to
Mhm.
supply these people
Mhm.
some electricity,
Yes.
which makes them forfeit their
own
aspiration or their ambition to
build dams
yes,
that will limit the water supply that comes into
Nigeria.
Nigeria's dams. We have the Kainji Dam, we have the Shiroro, and then of course the Jeba, and then there is Zungeru
Mhm.
that is also upcoming. So in all, there are 4 dams
that depend on this water.
that depend on this water. So for others, those other countries to also begin to set up dams, it's going to have a major impact on the supply of the level of water that comes into those dams for Nigeria to be able to use effectively. Be that as it may, the fact that they are still owing us, that shouldn't be a basis for them to owe us,
Yeah.
to owe Nigeria.
Yeah.
Because right now this power is generated, and the companies they need money, and they use money, and they have to service their
There are inputs, of
there.
course.
Of course.
There are inputs that are put into. There are investments that need to be recouped.
Yes.
So, 750 million, and you say that it has reduced now. That debt has reduced. That means owing has been.
Yes. You know that prior to privatization, the federal government saw, I think they kind of saw provision of power as a social amenity.
Yeah.
Not mainly for business, as a business operation. And so they've been in the habit of supplying power based solely on that bilateral agreement. And then there wasn't much priority given to these monies. They supplied it on a kind of diplomatic arrangement. And the priority was not on them paying. However, there was a twist following the privatization.
All right. There's an issue I want us to discuss, but let's take a breather. Let's take a short break. When we come back, then we'll discuss it, because I have been hearing some other aspects of this arrangement. Nigeria supplying electricity to the neighboring countries, whereas Nigeria is having it in short supply. But when we come back, we'll discuss those other arrangements, which I would crave your indulgence, listeners, to stay tuned with us, and we'll come back.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back, viewers. We're still on the topic why Nigeria will continue to supply electricity to debtor nations, debtor neighbors that owe Nigeria at a reduced rate right now, a reduced amount of 770 million naira now, because as our guest, house guest, Mr. Anthony Wuko said earlier, what they owe right now has reduced compared to previous times. He thought they were owing us more, and that has reduced now. So owing Nigeria has actually been a perennial thing by these neighboring countries. Now, there's an aspect I wanted to mention. There was a time in 2007 I covered an event in Ikoyi in Lagos, and an electricity official who delivered a lecture during that event said, and I want to paraphrase him, he said the reason why Nigeria is still supplying electricity to neighboring countries was because, whereas Nigeria has never had adequate electricity, the reason why they were still supplying to neighboring countries is because these countries were being charged a higher tariff. That at that time, Benin Republic was paying 23 naira per unit of electricity, whereas Niger Republic was paying 16. And in Nigeria at that time, it was just like 4 naira per unit. So it made economic sense to supply these people so that they would keep the revenue coming in, to keep the corporation afloat at that time. Now, a new twist has actually come, and you got the twist right that Nigeria has to, is the onus is upon Nigeria right now to supply these neighboring countries electricity, because if they took the, if they assume their right to use of this river, which flows from the Funta Jalon highlands, the Funta Jalon mountains. If they made use of the water that flow from there, Nigeria will have enough to use, because the fact is, a dam is not just to use the turbines to roll electricity, but it's also used to supply farmers, because for irrigation purposes also. So if these people use the water coming from that area, Nigeria will have less supply of electricity. So, like you said, much of the water actually comes to Nigeria and is in good supply. And that good supply makes it enough to build dam that the countries can benefit from. So it is understandable that these countries depend on Nigeria, and it is at a reduced cost. But that doesn't give them the right to owe, because Nigeria is no longer running a public corporation, public electricity corporation. Since the past 8 years, Nigeria's electricity corporation has been privatized. So who pays that money that is being owed? How does the corporation or our, in this case, it's actually the discos,
the generation companies. This ones they get direct.
Okay.
Yes.
It doesn't go through the discos.
No, the discos are mainly for the states that they have franchise over, and they are Nigerians.
Okay.
So this goes through the transmission company of Nigeria, through the system operator, and so on. That is the channel through which it goes. But be that as it may, with the twist, the privatization of the power sector, like I said earlier, brought in a twist, which means that the government is no longer in charge of supplying electricity to these neighboring countries. It is now the private companies, and they supply directly. They supply to these countries' electricity agencies, the various electricity agencies. So they are the one who pays. And like the federal government also have come up to say that with the privatization, it is now on a business. It's now purely a business arrangement, whereby it is on the basis of willing to buy and willing to pay. So what that means is that if those countries are willing to buy and they are ready to pay, then electricity is supplied to them. So that means that regardless of the bilateral agreement that has been in operation prior to privatization of the power sector, these countries, they have to pay, or else they can be disconnected.
They can be disconnected.
Yes. The same way many Nigerians use the prepaid meter, in which once you've loaded it, once you have exhausted your units, you don't have access to power supply until you do. Though this one, they are getting it direct, but the supply to them can actually be disconnected if they are not paying. And so there is a way out, though it's tricky, sort of.
It's dicey.
It's dicey. Yes. Though there is some form of challenge also that is preventing generation companies not having as much as they currently supply to the neighboring countries, even while many parts of Nigeria does not enjoy adequate supply of electricity. The infrastructure,
Yes, that is one thing.
the poor infrastructure. Right now, the generation companies say that they can generate up to between 6,000 and 7,000 megawatts, which they do. But the transmission company says it can only transmit about 5,000 megawatts.
Yeah.
And then the distribution company say they can only distribute about 4,000 megawatts. So what happens to the balance?
It has to go.
It has to go somewhere. And because there's no adequate infrastructure to bring in all of this power that is generated, and it cannot be stored
It cannot be stored.
for future use. So it must be given out. And since this arrangement has been on ground, they just have to keep giving them.
That is the reason. You just pointed out the reason. That is the reason. Whether sorry, whether we like it or not, that that supply chain cannot be stopped.
Yes.
It cannot be stored.
Yes.
It has to go.
Mhm.
And the fact that it has to go, the fact that it has to go means they will continue to receive this power.
Of course.
And that is the reason why Nigeria cannot withhold power, even though Nigerians don't have electricity, and that is the infrastructure aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So the power is generated. It's better to be owed than
for it to be wasted.
Yeah, the point.
And then the generation companies will have a huge debt on them, because you have to pay for all the inputs that they use in this generation.
There you have it, listeners. Nigeria cannot stop supplying electricity to neighbors, even though they are debtor neighbors. They can't. We don't have electricity, infrastructure, adequate infrastructure. So we can't store electricity. It has to go. Yes, and there is that arrangement also. So, with that, thanks for being with us today. We want to come to the end. We want to close this segment, which is the energy segment of Money Radio for today. It has been nice having you here on the show.
Thank you.
As always. Thanks
Always
to you, our
pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks to you, our producers, also for always being there and being efficient. Our biggest thanks go to you, our listeners who stay with us. You have been loyal to us, and we appreciate that. I have been your host, Keith Hammond. And until we meet again for another edition of Money Radio, I say to you on behalf of Leadership Podcast, vaccines are free. Go and get yours. It's safe. And COVID-19 is real. Stay safe, stay blessed. God bless you.